Welcome back to part 2 of our series, Why You're Poor, 15 Habits Rich People Avoid. So in our last episode, last Friday, we started unpacking the habits that separate the wealthy from everybody else. And today, we're going to be covering the final 7 habits that could be standing in your way. So if you're ready to shift your mindset, take control of your finances, and start adopting the behaviors of the rich, you guys are in the right place. Let's jump in and continue where we left off.
Yeah, and just to remind everyone, the reason that we wanted to do this is because when your financial health isn't right, it's one of those things that's going to impact every area of your life. If you're experiencing financial problems or financial struggles, your personal relationships are going to be impacted. It's going to be hovering over your relationship with your family. Every part of your life is going to be more difficult. So that's why we want to that's why we're debuting this. Part 1 was phenomenal. Guess what? Part 2, usually sequels aren't better. Well, this week, they are. Today, we're going to go over the final habits that could be blocking your path to financial freedom. Discover what the wealthy do differently and how you can start making a shift today.
So you guys, you're back. Another episode of The Pursuit of Progress. As Ben said, got a lot going on today, a lot to unpack on these final habits of the wealthy. So with that being said, Ben, I would love to have you kick us off with habit number 10.
We're on habit number 9. I'm going to kick it off with habit number 9. Habit number 9, the rich focus on creating value versus the poor who only count working hours. Adam, explain what that means to you.
So I think that this is something that's been probably one of the top things on my mind over the last year when I just try and, emulate what other successful people are doing. And what pretty much every successful entrepreneur and especially any successful salesperson does is something that Gary Vaynerchuk, who's a super, super successful entrepreneur, he actually coined this phrase in one of his books, which is jab, 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 left hook. And that's just referring to a boxing term, but the jab, jab, jab is adding value to people, providing value, providing more value, providing even more value. And then and only then can you give a right hook, which is your call to action, your whatever your ask is to try and get them to subscribe, get them to buy something. And just that mentality of provide value first and then ask for the sale later can really be applied to a lot of different areas within life. And especially, I think how a lot of wealthy people have gotten to where they are today is just instead of always, doing the bare minimum and just looking at the 9-to-5 type thing, just how can you add value to others? And if you do that from a place of authenticity, it will pay off, I promise.
Yeah, that's so great. I used to be one of those people that had a poor mindset regarding this specific habit. I used to get excited when I had the opportunity to work overtime because I could then tell myself, I'm getting paid a time and a half. But the reality is that I was spending more time at my job working over 40 hours a week than I was anywhere else, than with my friends or especially with my family. I was working that overtime and I was not taking the time to really develop myself the way that I should have been. Now, I look at things completely different. I'm still a very hard worker, but I invest in the things that that are going to bring value not just to myself, but more importantly to others. And that's one big reason that I started my YouTube channel. I didn't start that to try and get 1 million subscribers and be a financial influencer. As a mortgage banker, what I saw is people from all walks of life making the same mistakes repeatedly over and over again. And I would do that because I would be going through credit reports, I would be going through financial statements. And what I learned is that Americans were just not educated. We're not disciplined when it comes to financial literacy. And I want to be able to add value and give people hope and let them know that, hey, you can create the life that you want. You do have the ability to build wealth. You can become a homeowner or you can go buy that investment property, but you're going to need to educate yourself. And I'm going to be the sounding board. I'm going to be the person that's going to help you to start thinking differently and, hopefully changing your perspective when it comes to money.
Mm-hmm. In one of the habits on last week's episode, it was about, elevating the network that you have or elevating your social circle.
Yes.
And a lot of times you have people that are above you, maybe financially, but I guarantee you there's still other ways that you could provide value to them. So it doesn't have to always be tied to a financial dollar amount when you think about value. You know, somebody that is maybe making a ton of money, that is somebody that you want to get closer to, they might have a lot of money and a lot of active income, but they might just be extremely busy where time is very difficult for them. You might have more time, but maybe less financial, and well, all I'm trying to get at here is that there's always different ways to look at this and other types of value that you can provide people. And if you just kind of think about it from that mindset, no matter who you're referring to, who you're talking to, I guarantee you guys can hopefully find some value to provide.
Yeah, providing value is one way to say it. Another way to say it is, what kind of problems can you learn to solve? Everybody has problems, and I think that's what you were articulating there a minute ago. Is that the wealthy person, even though they have money, they still have problems. They still have challenges. What can you do to help relieve those? How can you solve them? How can you provide some relief? If you can figure that out, there's no limit to what you can do and what you can earn.
The bigger the problem that you're solving almost always directly equates to the amount of money you're making. You always want to just keep that in mind. When you're thinking about business opportunities for entrepreneurs, just different ideas that maybe you're toying with on different things you might want to try and, pursue. Just think about that when you guys are, at that stage. What kind of a problem am I solving? Is it large enough where a lot of people are going to be willing to trade money for you to help them solve that problem?
That's why P. Diddy's lawyer gets paid so much, because he's got a really big problem to solve.
You got a big problem. Well, let's
All
diddy
right, let's
on up
move
to
on to
number
habit
10.
number 10. Habit number 10, the rich track and plan finances versus the poor who live paycheck to paycheck.
Yep. I don't know if there's much more to say than what you just said in that title, man. That's exactly how it is. You definitely need to follow the understanding of if you don't measure it, you can't manage it. So
Yeah.
I think that's why so many people are under $2,000 of net worth, and 74%, whatever you said last week, are, um, you know, living paycheck to paycheck. You're not those people, and I've been there myself too many times in my life, but just really understanding that there is a little bit deeper meaning behind this. And if you are willing and just understanding that you need to be tracking your money and what's going in, what's coming out, all that kind of stuff, just that's the first step, just being able to manage and measure it.
Yeah, and when it comes to managing your money, there's really two different approaches that you can take. There's a budget where you review everything after month end. So, you're looking backwards with a budget. You're looking how much money came in last month, what did I spend it on? How much went to entertainment? You're going through every revenue line item, every expense line item, and you're accounting for where your money went. Budgets are rear facing. The other option, which is what I do, is a conscious spending plan. Conscious spending plans are forward facing, meaning that you're looking out into the future. And so, what I do every month is I'm able to anticipate what my income is going to be before I actually get paid. So, I usually have an idea as far as what I'm going to get paid. And based off of that, I then set a goal for myself, a spending goal, you know, and before that, I have my save and invest goal. So, there are some months where I am going to spend a little bit more because my goal is higher. There's some months where I'm going to spend a little bit less, but I'm not necessarily going through every single light item on all of my expenses as long as that number stays within the range that I've given myself. And I've learned I used to be a budgeter, and I think budgeting is important because you kind of have to master that skill before you can move on to the conscious spending plan to really develop those habits and that way of life. But that's something that I've been able to do. And now I'm able to, it's like, well, things are going really well this month. I have a couple of different, revenue streams popping in. I'm gonna spend this, this specific month. Or, right now, the month of September that we just wrapped up, my short-term vacation rentals, that's a very, very difficult month. I'm actually writing a check for the month of September. My spending is going to be different this month than it would be other months because what's normally an income source is actually an income loss, and I'm having to write a check. And so being able to navigate through those different options and finding the one that's right for you.
In all, full transparency, guys, I've had a very difficult time with this over the years, and everybody is able to do this different ways. Whatever works for you, great. One thing that I finally found that is very, I think, valuable is a tool from Rocket Mortgage. It's just rocketmoney.com, I think. But basically, you just connect each of your like credit cards, checking, savings account, whatever. You have your money in, and any type of debits, anything that's going on, debits, credits, all that kind of stuff. Anyways, you just have it all set up ahead of time, and then it'll just on a daily, weekly, monthly basis send you out emails giving you updates. Hey, your spending is above what's typical. You're actually great job. You're actually below what's typical this time of the month. It also helps you identify maybe subscription services that you maybe could cut. Just really a ton of value with that tool, and it's free. So check that out if you guys just need something maybe different to try.
Yeah, that's a great resource. And there's a lot of resources out there. Find the one that works best for you. And just, what you said last week, just start doing it. You don't have to be an expert when it comes to budgeting and, just start. All right,
Let's talk about the
moving
next
on.
one.
Habit number 11. Habit number 11, the rich practice gratitude versus the poor who focus on what they lack. True or false?
I'd say true. What's your thoughts personally on living out of an abundance mindset? Do you think there's some truth in manifestation as far as living from a glass half full type mentality and think and you will receive, to having that abundant type mindset?
Absolutely, I do. I'm someone who I'm very optimistic. I am someone who does believe in manifestation. I believe that our words have power. I believe that I've just seen it happen too many times to myself. I've written goals down. I've shared this story before, but when I was a teenager, I've always wanted to get into real estate and be a real estate investor. And I wrote down literally on a piece of paper, printed the paper off from my computer that I wanted to own 5 investment properties by the time that I was 35. That was one of my really big goals. It's like an 18-year-old. And that didn't end up happening, but it did end up happening just a couple of years after that. And so when you have goals, when you have a vision for your life, when you're optimistic, when you believe that anything is possible, anything is possible. I was at our corporate sales retreat for the bank that I work with, North Point Bank, and our founder was just sharing his story. His name is Chuck Williams, and he was 39 years old at the time. This is back in, I believe, 1998 or 1999. The bank just celebrated our 25th year anniversary. So this was 1999. And he was 38 or 39 years old at the time. And he had been in the banking business, and he was a loan officer. And a friend of his jokingly said, "You should start a bank." And he kind of, joked back with him. But then he started asking himself, well, can I start a bank? And what do you like? What do you actually have to start a bank? There's banks in town. There's one on practically every corner. What do I need? And it was something that he kind of believed in, and he ended up manifesting just because he was able to put himself in that position. But before all of that, he had to learn to be grateful for what he did have. And even though now you could argue he has a lot more and even a lot more problems, he's still thankful for everything. And so it was really, really inspiring listening to his story a couple weeks ago on the founding of the bank, what his personal journey looked like. And one thing that I've learned is that you can even be, when you focus on practicing gratitude, you learn to be actually thankful for the problems that are in your life. Now you learn, what, this is a problem. I'm going to have to deal with this, but I know that I'm going to become a better person. I'm going to become stronger. This is going to make me more mature. This is going to make me a better communicator. As a result of this challenge, I am going to be more skilled. And when you start looking at your problems and adversities like that, you can actually be thankful for them, which is kind of mind blowing.
Love that. Yeah, everybody's having their own challenges and just speed bumps and just difficulties in their life, but it's how you're focused on those. Are you focusing on what's missing in your life, or are you really recognizing growth opportunities and focusing more on the opportunities? So that's something that I think we've talked about this a few weeks ago. I think one of the qualities my grandpa had that I've always admired more than anybody else, he had such a strong conviction of optimism and just always glass half full mentality. But that's just another, maybe a little side note to this specific wealth habit, but just how so many wealthy people are always optimistic, glass half full type people. When things come at them, even if they're failing, they're realizing that those are just opportunities for growth, and they're just a totally different mindset shift on how they just look at adversity.
And it's also learning to be grateful for the things that you don't have as well. And I actually just came across this on social media somewhere over the last couple of weeks, and I had never heard of that before. Like, what do you mean be grateful for the things that I don't have? But then I started thinking about it. I was in a really unhealthy, toxic relationship, which was my marriage to my ex, and not just because of her, but because of just it didn't fit correctly. And now, I am so thankful that that's not my life anymore. So sometimes it's also being thankful for the things that you don't have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's jump into number 12. Actually, you know what? Before we go into number 12, let's just take a quick break. I know our sponsors are dying to get something in really quick. So, this segment is actually brought to you by Roadrunner Property Care. So, if you're looking to turn your home into a short term vacation rental, look no further than Roadrunner Property Care. Let their team of experts take the stress off of your plate and put more dollars in your pocket. Contact them today at www.roadrunnertucson.com. Once again, that's roadrunnertucson.com.
Well, thank you for our sponsors. Moving on, habit number 12. The rich have a growth mindset versus the poor who have a fixed mindset.
Yeah, I feel like, we did obviously the first 8 of these last week, and we're knocking out the remaining 7 today. And I felt like a few of these had kind of the same underlying tone. And this is one of those where, just really always going for more, always just never having a limit or a ceiling on your potential, just having that growth mindset. And the only thing I'll add to that before passing it over to you, Ben, is just I think for many entrepreneurs, myself included, in the moment, you don't realize it, but a lot of the times, this growth and more importantly, some of the opportunities that have been presented to me come from experiences that at the time I did not foresee it being a big deal at all, or really something that was going to amount to anything. Sometimes there are these challenges in life, or some of these opportunities where in the moment, it is what it is. But, looking back a couple years later, back onto some of these moments, there are some of the times that really can shift your entire path in life. So just that won't exist if you don't have a growth mindset and you're pushing yourself to, interact with new people, try new things, be okay with failing, those types of things, those types of experiences.
Yeah, a Bible lesson that I love to reference is, there's a lesson in the Bible that talks about having the mind of a child and the faith of a child. And what the lesson is it's so important to believe like a child, believing that anything is possible, and believing in all these incredible things. I think sometimes as we age, we get older and we start to tell ourselves, this isn't possible. Or we get very rigid in our thinking. Another thing that I have written down in my mirror that I look at every morning is I always want to stay humble and hungry. I want to be humble enough to admit that I don't know everything. And when I'm wrong, I want to admit that. But I also want to be hungry. I want to be hungry to learn, to grow, to build. And when you have a growth mindset, you can do those things. The way that I explain it to some of the kids that I coach on the cross country team is, we're either growing or we're not. We're either going up or we're going down. We're either getting stronger with our fitness or we're getting more out of shape. And that's kind of how we are with everything that we do. If you're someone that goes to the gym, when you're working out, you are getting stronger. When you stop going to the gym, you're actually getting weaker. Your muscles are deteriorating. And the same is true with all of our other skills. I'm the type where I want to be moving forward in life with everything in my career, my relationship with my friends, my family. I want to be the best dad that I can be. I know that I'm a better dad right now in 2024 than I was in 2014. My kids are teenagers now. They have presented some tremendous challenges to me that I was not aware that, were coming. Some of you are laughing because you've already had teenagers. And for me, it's like, oh my gosh, dude, these teenagers are relentless in their attitude and their back talk and how they treat me. But I'm telling myself, this is my opportunity. It's disguised as teenagers, but this is my opportunity to become the dad that I need to be, that's going to lead this family for the next 10, 15, 20, 50 years. And so when I look at it in that lens, it becomes an incredible privilege for me. And I shared this last week. That's one reason I'm really focusing on my communication right now, how I'm engaging with my children. I want to make sure that they understand their voice is heard. I may not always agree with them. We may not see eye to eye, but I want them to know that I hear them, that I care about them. And let's learn how to communicate in a way that is responsible, respectful, and really nonviolent.
Love that, man. That's great. So let's go on to the next one. Habit number 13, lucky 13.
All right. Lucky 13, habit number 13 on the Pursuit of Progress podcast. Number 13. The rich automate savings and investments. The poor fail to save consistently.
Yep, take the guesswork out of the picture, guys. Automating your finances makes it so much easier to build wealth just because of that one key word that has been brought up over and over on every one of our episodes, but especially on this last week and this week on wealth, is the word of consistency. Just being able to take the guesswork out. Ben talked about this also before with just improving your credit score, but just having several accounts set up. You can have your one checking, your one savings. You can actually have all sorts of other separate accounts that are easy to set up, and just as your paycheck comes in, automatic distribution for different dollar amounts every week, just so you don't have this, well, this extra $200, I could save it, or I could buy this, new pair of shoes or whatever it is, just having the guesswork taken out.
Yeah. And what's one great, streamlined, easy way to automate? It's by contributing to your employer's 401k plan. And a lot of times when you contribute, there is some type of match. When you do that every paycheck, you are automating your investments. And a lot of us don't understand that a lot of these are right in front of us. A lot of these opportunities, a lot of these rich habits, they're right there. You just have to learn how to take advantage of them. Another thing that I do is I just have another investment account outside of my 401k that I contribute to towards every month. And I just have a, recurring monthly withdrawal that comes out of my checking account over to the investment account, and it's just set up. I don't have to think about it. I automatically know that, it's going to come out. And it doesn't, these don't need to be outrageous amounts.
When we
It's it's
were
not it's not the amount that matters, it's the philosophy that matters. You have to get in the habit of doing this stuff, and then you can always increase it over time, but just get in the habit. And when your investment account starts off at 0, and then it grows to $100, and then it's 500, and maybe by the end of the year, it's $1,000. That's gonna give you some positive momentum. You're gonna feel good about that. And then it's gonna be 2,000, and then 5,000, and then 10,000, and then 10 years is gonna go by, and you're gonna be at 100,000.
Yeah, I forgot the exact numbers, so forgive me if this is a little bit inaccurate. But when we were at the wealth conference last weekend, they were talking about if you invested $100 a month, the power of compounding interest. I think it was after 30 years, if you did that $100 a month, $100 a month in 20 years, 30 years from now is going to be a drop in the bucket compared to what it is today. It already is, in some respects. But anyways, $100 a month. I think after 30 years, you would have like is like $3.5 million just from $100 a month. So being able to take that guesswork out, having it automated, you guys would be amazed, because what happens is you get to be comfortable with that new norm, so that $100 less all of a sudden just becomes the norm, and you kind of forget about it, and you just live your life with the expectation of what you need minus that $100 or whatever it is. So I think that's definitely a big one, just the automation and just the consistency to take advantage of that compounding over time.
Yeah, and that's how it works. The compounding only works if you're really doing it consistently. That's where it goes from being something that's, good to being something that is just absolutely incredible. The compounding interest, but you have to consistently contribute.
Yep. All right, number 14.
Habit number 14. The rich understand and leverage tax benefits versus the poor who lack tax knowledge.
Yep. There's a reason why this is one of the most talked about and opinionated topics going into the election this year and every election cycle. And pointing fingers at the wealthy don't pay their fair share in taxes. I mean, we could go down a whole separate rabbit hole on that one and maybe get a few people upset listening to us. But I think what's most important here is just understanding that it's available to everybody. Everybody has the same equal rights when it comes to tax. What they're doing and how they're filling out their tax returns and what kind of tax incentives they're taking advantage of. Everybody has the same opportunities. It's just, are you going to use them or not? And you're not going to be able to use them if you're not educating yourself on what opportunities and options are out there for you to potentially use. So definitely, if nothing else, just educate yourself, whatever industry you're in, on if you have certain things that you might be able to apply. And I would also just, one final thing before passing it to you, Ben, is I think there's a lot of value to paying a tax professional, maybe not to do your tax return, but even just give them a couple $100, or maybe you can just find this on your own at this point through AI and ChatGPT, whatever it is. But just, pay the money for the education to understand how to do this today versus 5 or 10 years from now, because it could amount to a ton of money down the road that you're missing out on if you're not, understanding what is out there and available. It's not how much you make, it's how much you save.
That's right. It's not how much you make, it's how much you save, it's how much you keep, it's what tax strategy are you implementing. And I'm not going to stand here and tell everyone that I'm a tax expert, because I'm not. I've read books on tax law and how taxes work. I've educated myself, but that doesn't make me an expert. But the representative that I use is an expert, and the reason that I chose him as my tax professional is because he specializes in real estate, and that's what I'm in. I'm in real estate. I own investment properties, and that is what his specialty is. And so I'm working with someone who is highly skilled in this specific area. He's not highly skilled in every area, but he's highly skilled in the area that applies to me. And you're right. People sometimes will get upset when it comes to tax, and but here's the deal. You have to learn what the rules of the game are. We're all players in the game. Every single one of us that files a tax return is a player in the game. If you know what the rules are, that's all you have to educate yourself on. You can win. And the loopholes, as you said, they are there and available for everyone. So, yes, this person might be taking advantage of a loophole, but it's there and available for you too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think we should do another episode down the road on just taxes in general, and probably put half the audience to sleep, but I think we could do it hopefully in a way that is focused more on just a few of the key items that I think really do make a pretty dramatic impact for a lot of us that are maybe small business owners or, entrepreneur type careers.
All right, moving on. And guess what? Can I get a drum roll on this? Because this is habit number 15, which is our final habit. The rich focus on opportunities versus the poor who focus on the obstacles. Wow. Wow. Mic drop.
So just in case my drum roll made it hard for anybody to hear that, focus on opportunities, not focus on obstacles. Wealth builders, they see challenges as opportunities for growth and innovation. Focusing on problems rather than solutions will definitely keep you stuck in that cycle of just negativity, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's so interesting, isn't it? I was listening to an interview with Elon Musk's ex-wife. And I don't know if he's had one ex-wife or multiple ex-wives,
Is that a
but
joke?
no, I'm serious.
He
And
has
what
10.
she was saying that he has become, and she was speaking to successful entrepreneurs in general, but she was relating that to her experience, with him, and watching him as his wife, what he was able to build. And one of the things that she said that makes him so incredible is the amount of stress and problems he is able to deal with. He has learned how to really successfully manage very, very difficult things. And how she was kind of articulating it was, what started off as at one point was a level 10 stressor is now something that is a level 1. And when you think about it, that's really all really successful people are. They know how to manage these high intense, high stress situations to where they don't get overwhelmed by the actual problem. They're able to see through the problem, solve the problem, find a solution, or if they don't specifically have it, bring in partners, get resources, get a second opinion, and overcome it. Whereas someone who doesn't have that skill set is completely overwhelmed by the problem and then they can't move forward.
Yeah, and again, going back to experience, you go through a couple bigger problems in life and you get through them, and then you kind of create a little bit of um, a callus, so to speak. You kind of build up a little bit of tough skin where you can take on a little bit more on the next challenges, and before you know it, look at Donald Trump. Look at somebody like that that's facing, going to court every other week for all kinds. I mean, just like you think about how much stuff is on his plate and how I would just be stressed to the max, and he somehow is able to kind of get through it. I know that's just one other example of somebody, but pretty crazy just to think of. It's all just relative to your place in life at the time and just what you've been able to get through so far, and setting yourself up for what you can get through today.
Yeah. Well, that is a wrap on the 15 habits. What we would love, and I don't know if I'm stepping ahead of you right now, but
Go for it.
we'd love to get some feedback. What do you think of the 15 habits? Do you agree with these? Do you disagree? Can you relate to any of them? What have you had successes with? What have you not? What have you had some failures with? How can our viewers share that, Adam?
Yeah, I think the first thing, if you guys are on video on YouTube or are watching this on Facebook, just feel free to leave a comment down below. But Ben and I are both active on social media. You can find either of us on there and just shoot us a DM with any questions or maybe any feedback on any of these that you personally have really seen a lot of growth within your personal lives. And Ben, I know for the audience that's stuck around till the end of this episode, I think you might also have a little gift to say thank you. Share a little bit more about what that's about.
Yes. Well, I love giving away gifts, and, we're just really, really excited to be able to give back. And so for our audience, what I'm offering is go ahead and reach out to us, and you're going to get a one-on-one coaching call with me for 60 minutes, spread up over 2 different sessions. And I'd love to have a conversation. I'd love to hear how you're doing. And again, completely no charge, complimentary.
It's awesome, man. Yeah, I thought you also had like a scorecard that you're going to provide people with too that you were talking about.
Yeah, yeah, and we also have the scorecard. The scorecard is going to be debuting on my YouTube video that's going to be coming out the week of. It's going to be 3 weeks from this Friday, and so follow me on American Money 101, and I believe that is Friday the 25th. Is that what your calendar says?
I'm not looking, but yeah, that sounds about right.
So 3 weeks today, Friday, October 25th, I'm going to release the scorecard on my video so you can see how you're doing financially and see how you score and stack up, and then what you need to improve on and how to do it.
If you guys want a recap of all 15 of these habits, I believe on that video, Ben's going to be debuting in 3 weeks. He'll also be touching on this again. So definitely stay tuned for that. Ben's got some great content he puts out on a weekly basis. So really goes hand in hand with what we went over today and also on last week. So keep your guys' radars out for any content coming out in the near future and get that scorecard.
All right. Well, is that a wrap?
That's a wrap, baby.
Well, thank you to everyone. We can't wait to see you again next week. And until next week, this is Benjamin Adams signing off for Adam Lang on the Pursuit of Progress podcast.
See you guys. Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
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 You didn't know, well, it's still